Okay, welcome to the CrossFit Canada podcast, telling the story of Canadian affiliate owners and coaches. And excited for my guest today, my neighbors to the south. And you guys win. So far, you're going to set the record for most names that a guest has. When you say your full name, first and last names, you got the two of you combined win for most names. So what we're gonna do is you guys are gonna each introduce yourself. I like to do it like if someone does a drop in at the gym, introduce yourself, your affiliate, and question of the day is going to be your favorite event from, as we're recording this, the CrossFit Games just were on. And so what was your favorite event, or just the one that stood out the most? And so we'll do ladies first.
Correct. My name is Samantha Pereira da Silva. I guess Ulrika now, since we just got married. And we own CrossFit Barrie in Barrie, Ontario. And my favorite event at the CrossFit Games this year was possibly, I think, the last one, like the rope climbs and then the overhead lunge to the finish. I really wanted to see Hopper go unbroken on that one, so I was a bit heartbroken, but it was good.
And I'm Hernan Iorik, but everyone just calls me Nani because most people don't know how to roll their R's. And so I'm from CrossFit Barrie, Ontario as well. And then my favorite event, I'm going to say Atlas as well, but it's only because I love rope climbs and thrusters. And I love the lunge to the finish. Like for me, like that's the best way to finish an event. It's like, how bad do you actually want it? And so like, I'm a big fan of it, of Atlas as well.
Very cool. I'm going to say for me, like at least the standout one that, I was surprised how much I liked was event 6 and 7, the back-to-back, all out, right? Like at the very first heat, the burpee box jump overs and like seeing it like that many boxes, I was like, this is a little ridiculous. But then like down to the last heats, like the races that it created, I thought was just so cool, especially Lucy Campbell and Tia going like synchro throughout the whole thing. I was surprised how entertaining that event would be.
It's so cool because you got to see, like, you knew exactly where everyone was as opposed to guessing, right? So I think that was a really smart part that was really smart on their part.
100%. And even to do like 3 reps, I think we sometimes might get thought of like even numbers, but like to do 3, then it was a more steady continuation. But anyway, so Sam and Barrie, owners of CrossFit Barrie, super exciting because my affiliate CrossFit Aurelia was started by the same owner. James Gordon started CrossFit Aurelia in 2007, and then in 2010 started CrossFit Barrie. I am the 3rd owner of CrossFit Aurelia. What number are you guys for CrossFit Barrie? Do you know?
And then Joe, and then Raul, and then took on, and then it went.
I think
is it 4?
I think we're like the 4th in terms of like ownership group. If we do like a group, I think we're the 4th ownership. We'll call it group because I think like there was partnerships.
Or 5th because we were with Joe, Justin.
4th or 5th.
So lots to talk about, even just about that journey and like especially like an established community and going in from there. But we got to start more back at the beginning. I always love hearing when everyone got first introduced to CrossFit. So once again, ladies first. Sam, when did you first get introduced to CrossFit, and do you remember your first workout?
Oh, for me, yes. Nani introduced me to CrossFit back in December 2013. And we did kettlebell swings, box jumps, and wall balls. And then he made me test my 1 rep max back squat. And I failed 130 pounds like 6 times.
This wasn't like a first date, was it?
Yeah, it kind of was.
It was 1,000%. I was like, look, I'm really into this. Let's see if you're really into this.
And then he was surprised at how I didn't redline. Like I spaced it out really well. And he was like, "Oh, you're not that tired." And I was like, "Well, no, I paced it, like, nice and smooth." And then so that was the first time. And then I probably didn't join an affiliate until June 2014. So CrossFit Barrie, I had reached out to them after our date, to the old owners, and wanted to join CrossFit Barrie. They didn't have the space for me. I was in school in Toronto, so I ended up starting at CrossFit Reebok East Woodbridge in June 2014.
I love the story.
Okay.
She reached out to CrossFit Barrie, and now she is like owner of CrossFit Barrie.
CrossFit Barrie was the first gym I ever reached out to. I wanted to do the foundations program.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll even get into like your guys' kind of like living situation at that time. But Nani, what about yourself? So you you created the monster that is Sam. So
I joke around in my group of friends. I think I was like the funnel, the gateway drug to everyone starting CrossFit. Now some of my friends are like super competitive in it and this and that. But so 2012 was when I started. It was February of 2012. But just beforehand, it was like a double whammy why I started. But the inception was I was in a fire program, and the goal of it was to eventually do the pre-service. And so if I was going to be a firefighter, I'm like, I need to get fit, strong. The job's going to demand a lot of me physically. So I'm like, let me search up firefighter training. So I went on the interwebs, which CrossFit was really popular on the interwebs at the time. It still is. And firefighter training. And there was a gym there named Auxiliary CrossFit that just happened to have done the firefighter competition. Because they used to host a competition where it's teams of 4, you get your bunker gear on and do all this crazy stuff. So I'm like, sweet, they train firefighters. Let me go over there. And then like, as I digged in deeper, I'm like, oh, this is like a sport too, and this and that. And so it fulfilled that athletic need, that identity that I had beforehand, where I want to feel like an athlete. And then my first workout ever was in my garage. I had those old cement plates that you would do, and I think I did Grace. It took me like 17 minutes, which was not, knowing now what I know about Grace, not really what I was supposed to get after, but it crushed me. So that was like the first memory of a workout, was like just 30 clean and jerks in my garage, and I was like just rolling in dirt, questioning my life basically. So
100%. So at that time, well, and even what's even more coincidental too is Nani and you and I were talking a little while ago, is we actually attended the same level 1.
Yes.
And didn't realize it as well at Coliseum in December of 2013.
Yeah, and it was a wild one. I remember it was a great weekend. There was like, I remember being like 60 people, I think there was like 5 trainers there. Like, I was like, oh, this is what it's about. This is sick. Like, let's go.
So what was the gap for you, Nani, between doing Grace in your garage and then, so I know you said you reached out to Auxiliary CrossFit, but is that where you ended up being a member, and when was that?
Yeah, so I think it was about 2 months between I did Grace and then February I joined the gym. So I reached out, and when I got there, Justin Taylor, who was one of the owners at the time, was there, and I was there like explaining what I read and this and that. And I just remember him saying, he's like, I feel like I don't have to sell you, but I'm going to just show you around anyways. And I loved it because it was just the way to get there, and where it was in the building, it just felt really hidden. And it just felt like, this is going to be my secret training spot that no one else is going to know about. And I'm doing what no one else is doing, and I'm just going to be a monster. Right? Like, that's kind of like what it felt like. And that the inception of it was amazing. And it was just like this little room. And I just remember walking in, the first thing I saw was one of the members doing deficit handstand push-ups. And I was like, well, that's really cool. And then like there's stones, and they had like the rig, and it just didn't look like your conventional gym. It had nothing to do with mirrors and the machines and the things that we were so used to at the time. So I was sold right away. And then I started the 2 time a week membership that they had. And I just did that. And like, honestly, I haven't looked back since. Like, CrossFit's been the staple of my life since then, since 2012. So
in February 2012, you started twice a week. And then if we, I guess, fast forward to December of, it was November. And I remember I took delivery on my first brand new car that week, like literally the Friday, I think, before driving down to Coliseum. So that weekend always stands out to me. It was November 30th into December 1st. So what was that gap like? What was that gap like for you to start to say, hey, well, maybe I want to start coaching this thing?
Totally. Yeah. I was going through like I mentioned, another thing was like identity in the sense of like, what am I going to do with my life? Because I was in the fire program, and then I started to actually not enjoy it, the process of what I was going through there. And then I found CrossFit, and it just all kind of happened in the same time. And then I remember I was in a gym with my dad, and this must have been March. It wasn't that far after I started, and we were just doing things together. And I was kind of just like geeking out about fitness in general, and just telling him like, oh, this is this and this is that and blah, blah, blah. And then he went to go do his bicep curls, and I went to try Fran. And we would go do stuff like that. And then my dad actually was like, hey, like, you seem like you really like this. You're struggling with school mentally. Like, just drop out. You'll figure it out in fitness. So I'm like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. So I dropped my program. I just started working, and I applied for the fitness and health promotion program at Humber College. And I'm like, I'm just going to go all in on this fitness thing. And I'm like, let me get a bit of an education on it. I think that'll help. So I started Humber, and then from there, I just started getting more and more exposures to what a class was like. And even the owners at the time knew that I developed an interest really quickly. And so they would occasionally be like, hey, this is how you do this, and this is how you do that, and these are opportunities that you can get. So they were kind of steering me in a good direction as well, or at least the best direction we had in 2012, 2013 at the time. So it was just a couple of months before I'm like, I'm going to just see what I can make out of this. And then that 2012 all the way to 2013, that's a big gap. Hold on. I was putting that in the same year. No, but that's essentially it. It just kept going, and I'm like, I'm just going to drop out, join fitness. And then I really like this thing. I want to make it a career. Own a gym one day. That started off in my mind a little bit earlier. And then I'm like, well, step number one is get my L1. And that's kind of how it brought me from day one to now, really. Or day one to 2013 L1.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we don't have to stay in the details of the timelines and that, but again, so Sam, Nani introduced you to CrossFit, and then as you said, you started first as a member at East Woodbridge. Mm-hmm. And then how long were you there for? And then where did you go to next? And when did you start your coaching journey?
So we met in the fitness and health promotion program at Humber College. And then when we finished our 2-year diploma, there was a summer bridge program that you could take throughout the summer, and you would join the 3rd year kinesiology students at Guelph Humber University. So I took the summer bridge program and joined East Woodbridge in the same summer. So then when I got to the fall, we had to do an internship. So I asked Steve Christini if I could do my internship at CrossFit East Woodbridge. So I did my first internship there in the fall. And in the winter, we had to do another internship. So I found Cabin CrossFit in Barrie, and I did my second internship in the winter there. And then when I finished my internship at the Cabin, the owner of the Cabin offered me a job. So I started coaching that summer.
And then where did you do your level 1?
Also at Coliseum. And I believe so I think I was at the same one was McCrae in your guys' level 1? I think she was in mine.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was also some coaches that are currently at CrossFit Barrie that were in my level 1 as well. Yeah. And it was also at CrossFit Coliseum. So you were in 2013, so I was in 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think I finished my internship with East Woodbridge and then got my level 1.
Got your level 1 and then ended up at Cabin CrossFit. So then basically because you two are now married, second anniversary is coming up?
Yeah. She said just married earlier. I'm like, we've been married for over a year.
Just got married.
Just married, but been together a long time, and then that becomes part of your journeys because, you know, Sam, you and I actually met first at CrossFit ERT. And so for those who are like following the bouncy balls that we'll get to later on in this discussion, you guys own a gym in Barrie, which, you know, in the 2014 to 2017 timeframe, there were a lot of affiliates in, I think people know Barrie to be a fairly decent sized community. I think 200,000 people, but CrossFit, you know, I think maybe at the height, there was almost 6 affiliates, maybe 5. But so Sam, you and I met at ERT, but this whole time, Sam, you were doing your thing at Cabin. Nani, you were doing your thing at Auxiliary. You guys had distance between you, but we're both doing CrossFit. So what were those times like early in your relationship and in your like coaching and CrossFit journeys?
So I did my internship at CrossFit East Woodbridge, did my internship at the Cabin, started coaching that summer. Then I had my 4th year of university in Toronto. So that year, I was kind of coming home on the weekends, home meaning Barrie, and coaching at the Cabin. But then during the week when I was in school, I was going to Auxiliary, and that's where he was coaching. And so we were kind of in proximity for like half the week there. Once I graduated, he got the opportunity to buy Auxiliary CrossFit. So he purchased the gym, and I was still coaching at the Cabin in Barrie. Then we decided that I should probably move to Toronto and coach there. So I moved. I was coaching at Auxiliary. I was doing a lot of personal training. And I also started coaching at Red Leaf Fitness, which was like a personal training studio that also did CrossFit classes. So that's how I ended up in Toronto. We were there for 4 years. Is that correct?
About, yeah.
And then CrossFit Barrie went for sale and we moved back. And I was very excited to leave Toronto.
Come back to Barrie. Barrie.
I guess just
heart.
Oh yes, I missed ERT in there. Sorry. So I was at the Cabin, and then ERT opened up. So I went to CrossFit ERT, and then coached there with the distance. Then moved to Toronto. Then Auxiliary and Red Leaf.
Yeah. So that's
I missed ERT.
Yeah. And then from my perspective, like where Sam was like, I think by the time CrossFit Barrie came around, she was like 5 affiliates in. Sorry if you can hear that. Our dog's chewing on something.
Oh no, it's fine.
Where Sam's been like 5 affiliates, I was like a solo affiliate. Like I joined Auxiliary CrossFit at 18 years old and I joined 2012. 2014, as soon as I graduated, I was offered a head coach position, which I thought was like the coolest thing ever. So I was a head coach there for about 3 years. The previous owners were ready to let go. And then a couple of members that I PT'd who were now my former business partners, they presented an opportunity where I got to join them, where they would essentially invest, guide me, and I would be the guy that brings the CrossFit love to the space essentially. So then we took over that in 2017. And so what was really cool was going from like, so when we started CrossFit, I actually got to the point where I couldn't afford a membership and actually bartered for a membership. I would just clean for it. To then, like, I built my way up where I was like, I'm the end of the team. So I thought that was that's a really cool perspective. I came into it. And then 4 years later, I ended up letting my shares go to my former business partners, and then me and Sam took over CrossFit Barrie. So that's kind of my path.
Yeah, but I think it was tougher for him because he like cleaned at this gym for membership. Then he became a coach. Then he became the head coach. Then he became an owner, and he had been there for
10 years.
And I was coaching, head coach, managing events at probably 5. Like I started at East Woodbridge. I went to the Cabin. I went to ERT. I went to Auxiliary. I went to Red Leaf. So is that 5?
Yeah.
And I felt maybe it was easier for me because we had always talked about maybe owning a gym one day. So when CrossFit Barrie's opportunity came up, I think it was easier for me to like, it was a yes. I didn't even have to think about it. So you stayed at Auxiliary for 6 months?
bit longer.
A bit longer, like 8
So
months?
when we left, I think just to start it off and put it out there, leaving auxiliary was arguably one of the hardest things I've ever done emotionally. And I'm not afraid to admit that. Like, it was a really, really difficult time. And even after the move, it took me a while to adapt. That being said, when we bought the space at CrossFit Barrie, it was 2021. So it was like right after the thick of COVID. And we were kind of in the thick of it still. The last thing I wanted to do was, I cared so much about this community, was like, I'm gone. Peace out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me stay here as long as necessary. And I didn't know how long that was going to be. I think in my mind, I said 2 years. After a year, I was ready. And then I decided, okay, it's time for me to part ways. Because now the transition was really weird for me.
It was also hard for him to be going up and down the highway for him.
Yeah. And it was like,
I think it was tough.
yeah. Like, and so there was all of that stuff and some of the sacrifices being made. I was like, yeah, I think I'm just like, I don't want to make those right now at this point in my life. So I'm like, okay, let me let go. And then I think auxiliary, like, they ended up finding a phenomenal coach, someone that could take the hours, this and that. I think what they're doing is phenomenal and great. And I'm super happy for them. And then, like, transitioning to CrossFit Barrie, that was tough because it's like, now I've been used to this group of people for 10 years who, like, I still love. If I see them on the street, I would stop and say hi and this and that.
We still see them at, like,
right?
we see them at comps.
And then for the first year of owning CrossFit Barrie, I'm like, yeah, I was on the ownership team, but I'm like, oh, look, it's just like, it's Sam's boyfriend, you know, who like coaches a class here and there. That's kind of how I felt. Like, I'm just the guy who comes up once in a while and coaches a class. And then I felt like I was 1 foot in Barrie. It was like 1 foot at auxiliary. And I'm like, it was so hard to give both 100%. And then when I made the move and I started coming across it very full time, then I really felt like, oh, like, I'm getting immersed again into this CrossFit space. And like, I got to know everyone and this and that. And that enjoyment aspect like came back into it, which was really fun. Like, that was, I think, a little different. Sam was used to seeing so many different bodies every few years, whereas like, here's like the 10 years, this is where I stay, this is my home. I'm used to this. When you walk through the gym, it's like, I feel comfortable. Now I'm like, I own this new space, CrossFit Barrie, but I'm actually very uncomfortable. And like building took a little bit of time. I would say like 8 months to a year before I was like, I'm 100% comfortable, to be honest. So,
and I think that's a really interesting part that's worth, like, let's zoom in on a little more, because you bought CrossFit Barrie in 2021.
Yes.
It had been open since 2010. Right. And I mean, Sam, you're from Barrie. You'd been to CrossFit Barrie, you know, here, there, and everywhere. But like, I guess what I mean is, most of the time an affiliate sells, it gets bought from within, just like what you experienced, Nani, at auxiliary. But you guys and Nani, you especially had the intimidation factor of coming in as like just more or less a complete stranger to a lot of those people who potentially have been there since day one. You know, Rick Gagnick has been there since Moby Dick was a minnow. But so what was that? You kind of said it, but like, what was your plan to overcome that kind of intimidation?
On Sam's part or my part?
Well, let's start with you, Nani, and then we'll get into Sam's perspective of it as well.
I think what happened was, like, when you coach, I'll put it this way. When you coach someone for a very long time, there's this buy-in, this trust that you have. And I think I got so comfortable being in a position where that buy-in was very quick. And I coming from a different city or whatever it is, I've been doing CrossFit since 2012 and like my own style. And then coming in, now I'm the new guy. Now I'm like adjusting people's positions and doing this. Everyone's like, who is this guy? Like, who's he? I've been doing CrossFit, because like some people were here that did CrossFit for 10 years already. So that was different too. Whereas like a lot of people that I coached in Toronto were like relatively new, and turnover was quite fast just because of students and stuff. The city. But CrossFit Barrie, I'm coaching people that have been here for a decade. And now I'm here like, hey, I need you to change your squat stance and this and that. And I'm like just being pure coach. And it was very much that, like, but this is how I've always done it for 10 years. And this is what I do. And then I'm like, oh, we're going to try this. And like, I took over programming. And then they're like, well, this is different. And then, so it was just like people have a really hard time with change. And because in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm a coach. I've been coaching for a decade. I'm like, I'm confident in what I do. And I was putting that confidence out, but realizing even though I'm confident, the person might not be confident in me yet. And so I almost had to like, what I felt my strategy was I had to tone myself back as a coach and put myself as a human first. I'm like, hey guys, this is who I actually am. Like, I'm chill. I'm goofy. I like to dance during class. I like to make jokes. And like, I think like that's what I had to do. I almost had to put my coach's hat in the back seat for a second and just be like, hey, look, we've all done CrossFit for a long time, because that's kind of what it felt like. Let's just get to know each other. And then after a few months, there was a little bit more buy-in. There was more like, okay, I trust this guy. He kind of knows what he's talking about. Kind of, right? That's kind of how I see it. And then slowly it was like, oh man, like I'm starting to see results and this and that. And then it's like more of that buy-in. So I felt like for me, it was just like, hey, like, yeah, I'm a coach and yeah, I own the gym and stuff. But I'm like, I need to put all that aside for a second and just remember that like one of the reasons I really love this thing is the relationships I get to build with people. So I put that relationship stuff on the forefront, and I'm like, and it just made things feel more natural, and it made coaching feel more natural as well. So that was kind of like how I dealt with intimidation. I was just like, hey, like, let's not be a coach per se for a second, and let's just be a person that they're just meeting.
Yeah, and I think what I like about that is, but one thing that you did was like, and why you and I get along so well is like we just sit and start nerding out over like CrossFit, like, and like the purest, not Nani's interpretation or Sam's interpretation or Matt's interpretation of CrossFit, but like, no, like, let's open the Bible and like read the scripture type deal. Yeah. And so what I'm hearing and why I think this conversation is prevalent now more than ever is like, you came up and you're like, man, I'm bringing these people like hardcore CrossFit. And then maybe you had this moment of clarity where you're like, okay, I'm going to tone it down a little bit, earn their trust first, but I'm not going to let them determine what CrossFit is. I'm going to teach them what CrossFit is once I have earned their trust and earn. Am I making sense? And like, Sam, did you see that from your perspective, from where you were sitting?
Yeah, so we definitely came in a weird time because the gym was closed. There was some membership turnover. We didn't really know anybody, and we came in with new coaches, new programming, and affiliations are independently owned. So there's a culture in each affiliate that's different, right? Like you can walk into one CrossFit gym and feel a certain way, and you can walk into another one and it'd be a totally different vibe. And that can be the same across classes as well. But I think that we came in with so much change that we realized we need to meet these people, build relationships, build trust, and then slowly kind of give them our coaching and our programming and all that. However, with that being said, I think we were still very much like, even if they brought up concerns about changing programs, we were like, this is what the program is going to be. This is going to be the class schedule. This is, without it being, intimidating, but very much like, we're going to bring these things to the table. Because at the end of the day, we wanted to build a culture that we were proud of, right? Like we, even though we were entering a brand new gym. But I like, with that being said, like the gym was closed for probably a month and a half. So it was maybe easier. I don't know, like transitioning. I remember we had a call with, who did we chat with? The NCR guys, because they had spotted gym as well. Yeah. So we wanted to just kind of get insight on, when you're taking over a new community. But I think that there was differences because when they bought their gym, it was open the next day where ours was not, right? It was closed. So it was maybe easier to kind of come in with our different, values and culture and things like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I did. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask Nani, like, yeah, does Sam kind of represent your perspective of it, or?
Yeah, no, 100%. Like it was like, it's easy to say, like, when we're in front of people, we have a tone, but in the back, it's like, no, like, we kind of need to run this with an iron fist too, in the sense of like, this is what we know is effective and is going to work. So we need to like, if we're going to say we're this, then we need to be this, and we can't deviate from that. Because like from a value standpoint, if this is who we are and what we want to bring, if we pretend to be anything other than that, now affiliation and ownership is not fun. Now it's not who we are, and now I don't like it. And this is what I find happens to so many affiliate owners who give up after 5 years. Whereas like Sam and I are like, no, this is who we are. This is how we do things, because this is how we love it. So like, no matter how hard it gets, it's still the way we kind of love it. And so we can like continue to keep preaching the message, as an example, or show up at 5 a.m. Like 5 a.m. wake ups are still fine. Like I wake up at 5 today. I'm like, oh, I have to go coach 6. It's like, no, like I'm still enjoying it because it's the way we believe it needs to be done, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, at that point, like we haven't talked about it, but you had more or less, not just recently, but Sam or Nani, you had recently passed your level 3 in the time of purchasing the affiliate, that is, a couple of years prior to that, right? And even in that time frame, then to now, as time flies 4 years later, Sam, you have passed your level 3 exam. So, you know, it's like, that's what I love these stories to say, like, hey, we've come in, we've met this community, we're going to show them that we care about them by putting our all into this thing. But as you said, we're going to hold true to our values. And for you guys, values is also saying like, well, we're going to continue to grow and evolve as CrossFit coaches and CrossFit athletes, and we're going to bring our community with us.
Yeah, 100%. And it's growth. Like I'm not shy. I posted this on Instagram. Like I failed my level 4 attempt, and I was like, I'm going to put this on display and be like, hey, look, like, obviously that day, that week, that month, that opportunity, whatever, like I wasn't good enough for them to see that. But at least I'm going to show the community or myself that like, I'm not afraid to put myself in that situation to continue growing, right? Like it's no different than a failed lift in a gym. It's like you show up, you hit some, you miss some, that's fine. It doesn't make you any worse. It's just an opportunity to grow. And so it's like, even though like I passed the L3, I'm glad, I'm like, sweet, I understand the theory and this and that. Okay, what's the next step? All right, that's the next step. That's still something at a distant, like, no, not distant horizon, but it's something that like I can achieve. And it's just to show everyone that like, no, like I'm very much still in this, and I'm still willing to grow and better myself and do these things and adjust accordingly to make sure that nothing is stagnant. Nothing is like on autopilot, that everyone is trying to grow together. Where I find like, if you don't look for those opportunities, like to get your level 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it is in the space, that like, I feel like when you stop learning, you stop appreciating what you're doing. And so, and if you're not appreciating what you're doing, then it becomes repetitive and boring. And then I'm like, I'm just burning out from this thing. So like the learning aspect, and I think even getting to level 3 for Sam, like, you know, cause I had it before her, and her rereading some things, I think it also like reignited some stuff in her to be like, oh, like this is the stuff that works really well. And you get back to the core and the basics. And, you know, you remember the couple years of the affiliate, I like the term, like put the salt shaker back in the middle for a second and keep it there. So we know like, hey, this is where it's supposed to be. And then from there you play, right? Little tangent.
Absolutely. So now I'm sure that tons of people listening are very interested in all this, but we haven't even now got into the fact that like, okay, you guys buy an affiliate, move in together, and you have to manage business ownership and relationship and all that. So how did you guys, like when it came time to being like, okay, I guess we're doing this thing, how did you guys decide or discuss how this would actually happen without you guys getting at each other's throats that often?
So I think that Nani and I have very different strengths and weaknesses. Agree?
100%.
And I don't even know if we had a conversation about it. I think it just flowed. I'm very business savvy. I like back end stuff. I like numbers. I like like even my monthly newsletter, like I haven't missed a monthly newsletter on the first of every month since I bought CrossFit. Like I am very into those things. And I think that Nani loves programming, loves coaching, loves all that. So we naturally fit into our roles pretty well. I'm very into like hosting community events, making sure the community is getting together, making sure the back end looks good, scheduling, all that stuff, payroll. And then Nani is really good at like being a face. He loves talking. So he's so good at like talking to everybody, making everybody feel good. He can talk to anybody about anything. So he's like a big people person. And he loves CrossFit and he loves programming. So he's really good at when people walk in the door for the first time, I usually schedule them with Nani because he's just so passionate about it. I love it as well, but he can really display how passionate he is. So I feel like we naturally have roles that kind of just fit. And I don't really know if we talked about it. I think it just happened.
Yeah, I think it just happened. And it's not like, it's kind of funny. Like I was talking to her, I'm like, I don't know if we turn the roles on or off. I think we have a really good understanding of like when we're talking about the gym or when we're like, I guess we'll call it in our relationship per se, like if we're eating dinner, you know, we're going to talk about whatever it is we want. It's not like we both go to sleep worrying about certain things. But when it's time to talk about something, yeah, it's like, hey, what do we need to do here to make this better? What do we need to do that? I agree. I don't agree. Try it out. Sometimes like she'll be like, I think we should really do this. I'm like, I don't know, but I'm down to try. So it's like we both very much still have our own independent thoughts. But I think what has made our relationship and business successful together is that we try things. And we're both I would say we're both have enough humility where like if we say we tried something and I was like really against it and then it worked, I'd be like, well, shit, you were right. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, this is actually really, really good and we should keep doing it. Whereas like, if it didn't work, it's not like we're like, see, I told you it didn't work. It's like, that's too bad that it didn't work. So even if we don't agree with something, it's not that we hold it against each other. It's just like, it sucks that it didn't work. It's okay. So we kind of like, I don't know if that's the right, if you agree with that, like, yeah, we're like, we go with the flow with things. And then some stuff we're like really strict on. We're like, no, this has to be exactly like this. And we're both like headstrong on that. But yeah, like if we're in the house per se, like at home, we very much are like normal, I guess. You know what I mean? Except this past weekend with the games on. And then like if we're at the gym or there's a phone call and stuff, and it's like, hey, like Sam's really good at this. Like this is about the gym. Like she'll start the conversation with that, I find. And I'm like, sweet, gym mode. Let's talk. But if she calls me and she's like, hey, and I'm like, okay, if it's a nice hey, then I'm like, it's probably just to say hi, you know? Like we kind of have some good cues, I guess. We have some good cues to know when we're like which hat we need to wear at what moment.
For sure. What you doing? It's like, okay, this is a personal call versus that. But I think what's also really interesting too about that is like, in my experience in talking with affiliate owners and especially like couples, it's not uncommon for, say, the husband to handle the coaching, the wife to handle the back end, but the wife doesn't often coach, or vice versa. It could be, I just speak generally, but that could be reversed as one will handle the business side, the other will handle the coaching side. So, but Sam, you have been coaching a long time as well. So you guys just as easily could have said like, hey, we can go in for our weekly class schedule. We can divide and conquer and save on payroll, save on whatever. But that's not a way to have a healthy relationship either, because then you just become like two people passing in a storm. So not just how do you guys divide your duties, but how do you guys still make time for each other and then know that like, hey, in this initial few years, we can't work ourselves to death. We have to also keep our personal lives prioritized as well.
Yeah, so I would like to shout out our team, first of all, because our coaches are like amazing. And we have been able, like in the last 4 years or 5 years or whatever, it's been like, you know, if we need coverage, we've always gone in our honeymoon, like, you know, things like that. Like our team is very supportive and amazing. And so I think that it has allowed us to be flexible with our schedule. But in terms of us, like we will change the schedule up every single week. And you are correct on that point. So I will also coach. I will also like program if I need to for a team, or, you know, I have personal training clients. He has personal training clients, things like that. So I do have a little bit of a hat in each bucket. But we're able to like cover each other. So if I'm having, you know, a really busy time of life, so I just graduated from my master's last week, my master's in education. So I've been in school. So he will take off more load, you know, for coaching, for example, or whatever is needed. And then let's say he's doing something, then I'm able to cover more. But we never really went into it 50-50 coaching and like working ourselves into the ground. We really thought, like, if we got our coaches, Nani does a lot of coaches development stuff, and we kind of went that route, then we would have the energy to like build the business, build relationships, come up with different ideas, things like that, and then also be able to do things outside of the gym. So yeah, it is depending on what's going on in our lives and how we can like manage things. But Sam is very much, I want to do everything. So so it doesn't matter how busy I am, I will do it all.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on some of that. Like, same thing. We actually just have the greatest team.
Yeah.
Like, I love all the coaches, and like they're always super helpful, and it's allowed us as business owners to like do what most business owners probably couldn't do in their first couple of years, which is like take a week off or take 2 weeks off to go and travel and relax, enjoy each other's time. And that, I would say, like, has made everything just feel healthy. And like, yeah, Sam's right. She like has she will do bits of everything. Whereas like, I very much like a couple of things. So like, you know, if she dips her foot here and there, I'm like, just give me like a lot of the programming or a lot of the coaching or a lot of this. And I'd rather just like dive into that. Or like, yeah, so just stuff like that. But in terms of balancing, you know, we've had little strategies over the years, because even before ownership, we still worked together. And I remember being the one that was like, hey, like, let's just pick a day and start. Like, I remember when we lived in Toronto, like every Monday, it's just me and you, steak and ice cream, whatever. Like, that's what we're doing. You know what I mean? So we try to be mindful of that. This year we're doing something. I set like a goal. I'm like, hey, once a month, I'm just going to like set up a date. A secret date that Sam doesn't know about. Right. And
Okay.
So we're going to go do this. And some of it's like, you know, I'm trying to remember some of the stuff we did, but like I just brought it to like what's it called? Like the break room for like an hour. We just smash things. So it could be something like that, where it's like completely unrelated to like our normal life. And so we could just spend some time with each other and stuff. So I think we've been married for almost 2 years, but we've been together for almost 12 or 13. Yeah. So we found strategies of like, this is how we like work on ourselves in our own relationship. And I would say like we've found like a really good balance, and we understand when there is an imbalance of it. So like, we don't hold it against each other if there is an imbalance of like, you're always working, you're always doing this. And it's like, no, we're like, this is just a small season of life.
Yes.
And then we're doing a lot of this right now, but then we end up with a week where it's like, we just spend 24/7 together having fun. So it's like, it's okay. We understand the ebbs and flows of life, and we just ride the wave as best as we can. And
there's definitely seasons, because when I look back, when I was in university in Toronto, our date night was like Wednesday nights. Then when I moved to Toronto later on, years later, it ended up being Monday nights. Now we're doing a monthly thing. Like, I think we like have changed depending on like what's going on in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So then, yeah, like, so clearly then you're making it a priority to say, because again, you know, as both of you could be classified as hardcore CrossFit enthusiasts.
Yeah.
And so it could just be as easy to like make that all your identities, but still being like, hey, there can be some dichotomy here. We can be hardcore and be into it and all that, but we also still have to embellish the other sides of our personalities, both as individuals as well as like what our relationship stands for, as opposed to just CrossFit.
100%. Yeah, like we play softball. We're on a softball team together. We like did like a barista class. We love sports. We've traveled and we hike and I don't know, we love food. Like we very much, I always laugh because like I think like in our world, everyone's like, oh, those are just CrossFitters. You know, like they just are crazy CrossFit people, but like we actually just also love other things. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Sam likes to paint and she likes to do her line dancing classes. And like, I like to play video games sometimes too. Like, I'm not just like all work, all business all the time. It's like, no, like there's other things that we enjoy. I love sports. Like I love watching soccer. I love, you know, lately renovating the house with my dad. Like things that are like just fun other than just like, I'm going to do burpees and air squats. And that's my whole personality, you know, like,
Yeah, we have a lot of like interests, and I feel like I don't know if all couples I think a lot of couples are different, but I think we have a lot of similar interests. Like we love sports, we love the gym, we love hiking with our dog, like we love traveling. We have a lot of like similar interests, so we also do a lot of things outside of the gym.
Well, and that still goes back to that, like the salt shaker in the center of the table, like being pure to CrossFit. Like I think a lot of people can say like, hey, I'm you know, all in on the methodology, but one of the things that they will overlook is the regularly learn and play new sports. Like, hey, I'm all in on CrossFit. I'm in, you know, I'm purist to the books, but it's like, when's the last time you learned a new sport? Yeah, no, that's not as important. But like, you guys are constantly just trying new things. You know, I know Nani, you've dabbled in just playing around with strongman stuff. Yeah. Sam, you teach at Georgian College. Like, so you understand that it's okay to deviate away from the center that is CrossFit as a means to make your understanding of the methodology more sound. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, so when we came here, we played on a lot of co-ed soccer teams and things like that, but softball this season has been brand new to both of us. We both never played, so that was our brand new sport this year. And like you mentioned, like we do everything. Like High Rocks came, we signed up for it. Barrie sprint try shows up, I do the triathlon. Like it just like we sign up for whatever and we'll do different sports and different things. And yeah, I agree. We're always trying new things.
Yeah, I got sucked into the trap a little early. On the early days, I think like that 2012 to 2015, 16 era, I was like, the open is all I really care about. And I just want to be really good at the open. It would be August. I'd be like, the open is coming.
And I was the one that was like, Nani, that is so far away.
But with time, maturity as well, and things like that, and realizing that you can spend 2 hours less in the gym and still be really fit. I started to dabble in more things and just enjoy my body for other things. And like it's really cool. I think like expressing your fitness in completely different ways makes you fitter, and it just keeps things light and fun. And you know, like softball is an example, something that most people see on TV and like, oh, that looks simple, but like I'm being challenged in a completely different way that I've never been challenged athletically, right? Like I played sports growing up, like I dabbled into wrestling, I played soccer, I played football, but like now this is completely new. I learned some new sports, and then I played volleyball 1 year. That was a new sport for me. And then strongman, and we did tries, and 100%. But the thing that's funny about that is I always find this happens. No matter where I deviate, I always come back to the core principles. So like I always like to say like all these things are just like a distraction while I'm like just like they're all a distraction, but the core is like I just want to, you know, do this way. Like come back to class, this, or like mixed modal stuff and change up training, varying, and like all that kind of stuff. So, but and
an important point that you mentioned, like Nani and I do class. That is our programming, right? Like I feel like a lot of affiliate owners or maybe coaches like always have, you know, their own individual programming that the members don't know about or do. Like no, Nani and I do class every day. That's our main. And then if we do extra stuff, we just do it on the side.
Actually, funny enough, the strongman stint that I went to, it was called Jack Frost in Montreal. I just I call it thickening. That's the word I use. I just thickened up the CrossFit, the class workout.
Just
So
make it heavy.
if they had a deadlift in it, I'm like, I'm going to use an axle bar and I'm going to make it stupid heavy. And like, it literally the older days, if you go back to the older days, and I still remember a video of Glassman and Spieler doing this. And they're like, well, if you're a soccer player, and like they used Helen as an example, then just run 800 instead of 400. Like, it doesn't need to be rocket science. And it's like, well, you're competing in a strongman comp. Okay, just lift a little heavier with slightly less reps. And like, you're going to cater to it. Right. And so I think like the concept is like, here's GPP. This is what most people need. Now, if I have a slightly specific goal, the program itself doesn't need to change. You just need to make a little modification to what the specific thing is. Hey, you want to run a little bit longer? Hey, like just turn it from a 200 to a 400. That's fine. Like it's not the end of the world, right? So that's kind of how I approach that stuff. Or, you know, if Sam is going to do a triathlon, it's like I'm just going to add a bike or a swim session in, and that's it. We don't really deviate from like, hey, this is our daily program, and that's kind of what we follow. And feel good doing it.
Yeah, and it is cool that you can do CrossFit, and I feel like you can sign up for most things and do okay at it.
Yeah. Well, that's like the point. Is like exactly like you and Nani, you nailed it. Like it's general physical preparedness, and that's what the program is. It's when people start to pull themselves again away, move the salt shaker away and go into specialty, or be tempted to offer a specialty program. Like if they're doing a team training, like, oh, well, we're going to focus on hockey, so we're going to do rotational stuff. It's like, no, they can use their sport specific coaches for that. We'll help you get generally fitter, maybe increase your power output a little, but staying true to the principles that got everyone where they are today, and knowing that the program always works.
And this is one thing I always get on people on this, how effective it is in such little time. Because everybody starts off CrossFit like, I can get fit in 5 minutes or 20-minute AMRAP. This is great. Like, time is valuable. So you're telling me with 5 minutes of intensity, maybe a lift or a skill, depending on the day, I'm like, I can get in, get out, and I'm getting fitter. That's amazing. And for some reason, you get lost somewhere and you're like, now I just need to do more. And it's like, well, no, like the whole point of it was like, it was time effective for you. And now you're trying to like push things aside. And now you're getting frustrated because now you're doing more and this. And then people like end up crashing out. And I'm like, no, like, remember why you started. Like the reason I started was the real reason I started is like, I'm like, hey, I should probably just be like a more able human if I'm going to go into the fire service one day. Right? Like that was really the start of it. Whereas like, and then you go through your cycles, and different CrossFitters like, well, I want to do a competition. I want to do this. So they'll work on their weaknesses and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And then they kind of spiral a little bit. It's like, no, just take a second, bring it back to class. And I find it with almost like 100% of the people who do too much, almost 100%. I'm like, hey, forget about all these things that you think you need to work on. Just show up, do class, have fun. And then weeks after, they're like, oh, that was the best advice. I'm loving training again and this and that. And it's like, well, yeah, it's because you're doing it the way you intended to do it. Right. And I find people are and maybe it's a disservice on our part. Maybe I need to speak more and whatever, but people just want to keep doing more and more. And they have a really hard time walking away from the gym feeling good. It's like, why am I feeling good going away from the gym? This is foreign to me. I'm like, no, that's the right way. That's how you're supposed to feel. It's actually better. Is leaving. You don't have to truck yourself into the ground, right? And so I just wanted to kind of mention that part too. Like understanding that like just doing the thing as you intended to do it is actually the best way to do it without going crazy.
Sure. Well, it's exactly like the novice's curse is to try to fill your program or your coaching with novelty and exciting things while ignoring the basics. And it's like that can be applied just to the program of CrossFit and fitness. So what's next for Sam and Nani and CrossFit Barrie? I mean, Sam, you just got your master's. Like, what excites you guys about, you're coming up on your 5th year of ownership and then getting into the next 5 years?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I go back to that point where it's like, I just love watching new people come in, and changing. It always comes down to, I love giving fitness and teaching fitness to the people who need it the most. I find CrossFit, and I don't know if you agree with me, Matt, but like it does a really good job at attracting former athletes and people who already have like some fairly good lifestyle disciplines. I really love it that like they're the people who really need it haven't been touched enough. So it's like, how do you get more people in who like are on a weight loss journey, who we actually just got a new member who has a cognitive delay, and like, well, that's a big population that no one's targeting either. It's like, how do we get more people involved who really need fitness? It's like people come in, they're like, okay, like you have a 3-minute Fran time, cool. Like you have a 500-pound deadlift. I'm not really worried about them. They're already so dialed in. It's like, now how do we make the hardest change, which is get the people who really need it, people who not only need it for their mental stuff, but their physical stuff. Like some of my favorite stories throughout my coaching career are people who got off blood pressure medication when doctor said that was a thing they're going to be on forever. People who, I have someone who was happy to jump on a 10-pound plate. Like that stuff fires me up. And we take it for granted that we've done, all three of us have done CrossFit for over a decade. You know, we do things, and if, you know, like if we're like, oh man, I should have lifted heavier or this and that. But like what we're doing is literally way beyond what most people can do. And I want those people who really need it to get to that level. It's like, hey, let's like do our first 200-meter run. Let's do our first box jump. I love first pull-ups. I think they're the greatest. First muscle-ups. We went on a wave of first muscle-ups early in the year, and it was insane. It was nuts. And it's teaching people, and I have 1,000 stories even just at CrossFit Barrie, but like having people come up to you and say, thank you, I didn't know I can use my body this way, is the coolest feeling you could ever have. And I am so guilty of, like, till today, of like going into the gym, I'm coaching, this is just what I do. This is just what I do. It's been my career. But then like randomly, someone's like, this place has changed my life.
Yeah. Or like writes us a letter.
Or writes you a letter. And it's just like, man, and it hits every single time. Every time. And I'm like, man, like, and I'm thankful for that person because it reminds me why I'm actually in the position I'm in. And it's to make like actual change to people who otherwise didn't know they could do something with their lives, or they can eat a certain way, or they could run or modify a workout or anything. And like, you know, and I get fired up every time, even if they're restarting for the 6th time. You know what I mean? Like I have a friend who years ago lost tons of weight, put it back on, and then like a month ago, he's like, I'm ready to do this again. And I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go.
We're like, all right,
you know what I mean? Like, let's do it again. Like, let's get for it. Like, that's how we're going to do it. I think like, so for me, maybe it's too simplistic of an answer, but like in the next 5 years, it's just whoever walks through the doors, if I can help be a small part in getting them a little bit better so that they're not decrepit in the future and they can play with their kids or play with whatever, like then that's really what the next 5 years is for me, is just making more change in the best way I can.
What about you, Sam?
My bad. Here you go.
No, I agree with him. And I think that when I started CrossFit, I was on medications. I had an autoimmune disease. I had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis from like 13 to 18 years old. And I was on a lot of meds. And when I started CrossFit and started like eating healthy, I got off that medication and I've been in remission since. And I think that it's cool because Nani got to see me go through it. And so now when we see members go through it, that ultimately is the main goal, is to help people and get them healthier, get them off medication, get them, you know, we've had members who've never run before and then we get them to run 100 meters or whatever it is. So I that is ultimately the goal.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I mean, you know, and I've talked about this with other folks on this podcast, like, depending on who you talk to and in the space, like you guys are a shining light of positivity in like your community, but in just CrossFit as a whole. And there are people who maybe live in the shadows and they say things like, oh, well, what am I getting for my affiliation? And I said with someone like, what you're getting with your affiliation is a manual to change any single person's life that walks in front of you. And that's what you get with CrossFit. And so it's cool to see you guys like living that. And it just shows, like, again, like, the answers are to the test are in the book. You just have to read it. Once you read it again. Once you read it twice, read it a third time. You'll always find something new, and your business will thrive. And usually it's like any type of falter or failure, the answer can be found from maybe going backwards, not like regression, but like, let me go back and review what I just did, like physically, business wise, attending class wise, program, all of those things.
Well, man, that's exactly. I failed my L3 the first time. I'm someone who fails first, passes later. I just like I run in as unprepared as possible. That's how I work. And then like I just learned through, getting whacked by a couple trees. And I remember I failed my first L3, and then I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? And I'm like, I'm just gonna live the material. So I lived the material, and then when I went back to do it, I passed. Just because like when you're in it, you understand it so much better. And so like I find like it's just to reiterate what you said. It's like the answers are right there. Like they're exactly what you need. If you need a reminder, go back. And then, I think someone like us, when I reread stuff, you're reading it from a different lens, so you understand it differently. When you read it for the first time, there's other things that pop out at you. So like reviewing that material, I think every so often is actually key, because you will pick up something different and you will understand it from a different lens. And I think like, reading it when I was 19 versus reading it now in my 30s, I just understand it differently too, because of you just have that maturity and that life experience. You're like, oh, this is actually what matters, and this is actually what we're trying to do. Right? It's not necessarily to be the CrossFit Games champion. It's to make sure that when I'm 80 years old, I have the highest quality life possible. Right? That my work capacity is good across time. You know what I mean? So like just reiterating what you mentioned.
Yeah. It's my whole thing now is like, when you analyze the program, it never not works.
Yeah.
It just always has proven itself time and time again to have worked. And so I think on that note, 3, 2, 1, time.